You know how people always say, if you're from Detroit, prove it. Outside of Verner's, and maybe Sanders Cake. Well, remember when I guess the drug dealers was really, really popping in Detroit? I was serving schools in the city of Detroit. I mean, I had hundreds of schools over the years, hundreds. And I had to go into some questionable communities. I remember the first time I went into one of those questionable communities. I had a rental car. And I swear, I went into one school, dropping off an envelope, and the time it took me to walk to the door, park right on the corner, and come back, someone had stole my Catalina converter. I didn't know what it was then. I was just mad. I was like, this doggone rental car company done rented me a raggedy car. You know, it wasn't making that noise when I got to the school, but when I got back from the dropping off an envelope, couldn't have been less than 5 minutes. That sucker was gone. So I called the rental. I'm like, I'm bringing the car back because something wrong with it. They were like, well, what's wrong with it? I said, it's making a loud noise. It wasn't doing that. So the guy on the phone said, well, start it up. Let me hear it. Start it up. He said, you've been hit. I'm like, hit? Did nobody hit my car? Ain't no dents on this car. No. He said, somebody done stole a Catalina converter from underneath the car. And that's the noise you hear. Just bring it back and we'll get you another car. And that's when I started getting smart. Because some of the schools that I went to were in some pretty rough communities. And the guys would be sitting on the porch waiting on you to leave your car. And I'd be praying, Jesus, please let this car be here when I come back. So what I started doing is like, hey, how y'all doing? I started talking to them. Honey, listen, I would bring them a bucket of chicken. Whatever it took. Sometimes I didn't buy no liquor for nobody or no cigarettes, but I sure brought them food. I might bring some Krispy Kreme donuts. I might bring them some cookies. And honey, I made friends and they watched my car, okay? I was like, wait a minute. Because I had to continue to my work and going to the schools. And, you know, the idea of just keep having a car stolen or parts on your car stolen or you're sitting on bricks. Yeah, that was a season in my life. Now, this other season, I'm going to talk about the season I'm in right now a little bit. And it's called being old, all right? Getting aged. You start waking up and have pains you ain't never had before. You be like, I didn't go to bed like this. How I wake up like this? But I want to tell you the night that I had to call the police. Because one of the things that happen when you start getting old is you lose your eyesight. And honey, I was losing my eyesight that night. Well, I was tired. I had slept down on the couch. And then about 1 o'clock in the morning, I come up to my room to go to bed. And when I opened up that door and reached in and turned the light on, right in front of me, I thought I saw a bat. As far as I'm concerned, it was a bat. And the wings had opened up, you know, and it was doing this. And I slowly backed out that room and cut that light out and closed the door. So I went downstairs and I sat down on the couch. I said, well, I guess I'll be sleeping on the couch tonight. Because, honey, I'm not sleeping up in the room with no bat. I'm not about to fight no bat. I'm not about to do any of that. So, after an hour, I said, I wonder how the police answered such a thing. You know, how do they handle things like this? And my friend had just told me that in the apartment building that her daughter lives in, the neighbor always takes his shoes off outside the door. And one morning when he came to put his shoes on and step his feet in, a bat flew out and he screamed. Kind of like I did. Okay. And so I called the police. And I said, this might sound weird, but there's a bat in my bedroom. And so she's like, a bat? She said, did you close the door? I said, absolutely. I closed the door. I turned the light out and I closed the door. I explained to her what happened, steps that I took. And so She's like, well, we'll send somebody out. I said, you get calls like this? She said, we get all kind of crazy calls. I said, okay. So I sit and I wait. They didn't come right away. They probably already knew there's probably some crazy old lady and we're not going to rush. And they didn't. About 2 hours, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm downstairs and I see a flashing light because I really I need it solved. Because how you going to sleep with a bat in your room? So I see the light. I look out. Oh, okay, it's the police. So I let them in. And then 2 gentlemen, and they were like, hey, explain to us what happened and where the bat is. I said, well, the bat is upstairs in my bedroom. And I explained to them what happened. So they said, well, show us where is that? So we go upstairs. And I opened the door and I turned the light on. And they was like, is that it right there? And I was like, yeah, that's it. They said, ma'am, step inside. I said, I don't want to come in there with the bat. He's like, ma'am, step inside. So I stepped inside. I got a little closer. And I got a little closer. It was no bat. It was a hook. It was a curtain rod, piece of the curtain rod that I couldn't remove from the wall. I removed the other 2 sides, but I couldn't get this one piece off in the middle. And they did say at first glance, it did look like a bat. But it wasn't a bat. So we had a good laugh about that. Yeah. My eyesight is not the best. I have to make sure there's not a speck, not even like you drop pepper on the counter. I can't because I'm thinking it might be a bug. So I have to make sure everything is in order, perfect, neat, because I'm going to freak out. If I'm watching TV and there's a bug flying, not on the TV, but in the TV part of the show, my eyes see it's on the TV. I haven't busted up a TV yet, but I've been very close. Trying to kill a bug that's not even on the TV, that's flying on the inside of the TV on the movie I'm watching. That is crazy. Another time, and I'm going to let you go. Another time, another crazy thing that happened to me is my husband was at work and I'm in the bed asleep. So he calls and says, hey, I'm on my way. Now I know he had 45 minutes before he could get there. And I'm in the bed and I fall back to sleep because he didn't get off till 11. So it means he's not going to get home for a while. And then I fall asleep, but I'm awake by the sound of a whistle. And I'm like, what is that? I said, somebody's in here. Somebody in here. But I didn't move. I just laid there very still. I'm like, they're in the bed with me. So I decide I'm going to do this really cool maneuver. I'm going to take the free hand because I'm turned sideways. I'm going to take this arm and karate chop whoever's in the bed with me. So I mentally count to 3 and I do my karate chop. And I jump up and run to the door, which is closed. And I realize at the door, I hit a pillow. There is nobody in the bed. So I look around the room, nobody's in the room, but I still hear, and I'm like, what? It's on the other side of the door. Oh my God, I gotta get out of here. Now, one of the things that I always do, no matter where I go, I always think of an escape plan. If something jumps off, where am I going to go? What's going to be my exit? So in my bedroom, my exit is the roof. It's a flat roof, so I figure I could crawl out a window and kind of like be on the flat roof. I'll be safe. So I have started the process because I hear the whistle. And I'm like, what is that? Somebody's in here with me. So I push the window up. And I'm beginning to go out the window. In the winter. Dead of winter. Snow everywhere. Cold outside. In my pajamas. Going out the window. When my head is out the window. And I hear. And I'm going, well, it can't be out the window. And I hear it again. And I realize it's me. My nose was whistling. I've never had my nose whistle before. It's me. I'm about to climb out a window in the middle of winter in my pajamas on a cold night because my nose is whistling. Listen, if you want to hear more stories about my life and the things that I've gone through that I think are funny, you let me know. Anyway, you have a good night. My name is Kisha. Talk to you soon.